Forests take up 31% of the Earth's land surface, so it's no surprise that things lying in the woods are still a mystery, and unexplained things are being found out in our forests today. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 forests which have mystery lying within them. A forest ranger finds a mysterious cabin in the woods. In Arcata, California, Mark Andre lives and breathes forest services. As an environmental service director, Andre is responsible for ensuring that both public and private sectors of land are protected and host environmentally safe and sustainable practices. A large part of his job is marking trees that can be harvested by the Arcata Park Services. Whilst Andre was marking trees in a more remote part of the forest, he noticed something strange about an area he seldom visits on his normal forest walks. Tucked behind dense foliage and enormous tree trunks, he noticed a small cabin. The cabin was camouflaged so perfectly that it could only be visible from passers-by from about 12 feet away. It was strategically covered in a natural brown-coloured tarp, constructed with wood that resembled the tree trunks and covered in brush. However, there was more to this cabin than just a few scrap pieces of material. The cabin had a porch in the front and a large window in the back. It also had a roof that was about 15 feet high and seemed to be teared away to give the home some architectural dimension. At first, Andre was concerned for the cabin because when homes are built in remote locations in the woods, there always seems to be trouble near, whether that be a homeless person making a mess of a forest, or even worse, something criminally involved. Nonetheless, Andre requested that local police join him on his search inside the cabin. Andre and a police officer began searching for clues to be sure there weren't any dangers when investigating the cabin. Andre initially searched for signs like littering or environmental abuse, but to his surprise there weren't any. This indicated that the home was built purposefully and not simply for survival. The homeowner clearly had a respect for nature, as the home was equipped with reusable containers and utensils to avoid producing waste. The team of investigators began drawing conclusions about the occupant of the home by examining all of their belongings and analysing the unique construction of their house. The house was built to live in, though it seemed nobody had been living there for quite some time. Andre found a to-do list marked with tasks in 2011, along with non-perishable food items and an overall dusty atmosphere. The team was able to conclude that, if anything, the house was used as a getaway home rather than a permanent residence. Secondly, Andre and investigators were able to conclude the occupant would have been elderly because the cabin came with outdated cassette tapes for film and audio entertainment. Additionally, a stack of older books sat on a shelf. One was even about medicinal plants. The owner even brought a typewriter to the cabin. Upon further investigation, the team concluded that the last time the resident lived in the cabin was probably 2015, because they had a copy of a university newsletter from that year. Andre and police alike were pleased that there seemed to be no foul play, but they had a tough decision to make. A part of Andre's job is to ensure that all public property remains public property, and that means the construction of personal living quarters on the land is strictly prohibited. Andre had no choice but to leave an eviction notice on the door of the cabin. When Andre and other environmental specialists came for a follow-up, the cabin had been completely deconstructed and the site was all cleaned up. Authorities reported that it was the tidiest cleanup they had ever seen. The resident of the cabin even left the international squatters symbol behind, which he drew with charcoal. Authorities don't suspect they'll be hearing from the cabin owner anytime soon, as he could face major legal repercussions, but they're thankful for the way he honoured both the forest and the law. The Pocahe Forest Rocks. The mysterious Pocahe Forest is located in Latvia and is a popular destination for families and tourists alike. Because of its beautiful hiking trails and dense forest features, people love to visit the forest for a getaway. However, there are other characteristics of the forest that draw in an audience. Several clumps of stones rest on the forest floor, which has raised the question, how did they get there? Forest goers have many different theories. Some predict that medieval folk intended to build a castle in the middle of the forest, but it was simply never built. In this case, they would have brought the stones in for the base of the castle, but given up rather quickly, which seems unlikely. An addition is, there's no historical evidence that castle building would have taken place in this particular forest. Another theory is that people gathered up the rocks to clear flat land for farming. However, it's unusual they would have brought these enormous rocks so deep into the forest. Because there are so many myths and various folklore that derive from the life of the forest, there have, of course, been tales of how the rocks landed in the Pocahe forest. One of the most popular tales is that the pilgrims brought the rocks deep into the forest to absolve themselves of sin. Finally, that leaves the superstitious people with the occult explanation. Theories about witchcraft and special powers revolve around these heaps of rocks, as people often report feeling euphoric or highly energized after visiting the forest. On a more sinister note, people have also reported feeling extremely ill or haunted after visiting the rocks. Adding to these theories is the evidence that pagan or other non-traditionalist religions sometimes visit the rocks for healing rituals or worship. Some people have even reported seeing bright and colourful lights reflect from the rock surfaces in brief flashes. People who believe that these rocks possess some kind of healing power often suggest that visitors don't take any of the rocks out of the forest, as it will cause a major ecological and spiritual disruption that will ultimately cause extremely bad luck. The boiling river in the Amazon. Deep in the Amazon lies a river. The Amazon is infamous for its outstanding environmental characteristics and resources for scientific discovery. But most recently, a river within the Amazon has been claimed as the boiling river. This is because the river is doing exactly that, boiling. The most common and easy explanation for its boiling temperatures is the sun, because we all know that the Amazon is notoriously hot. However, it doesn't seem the sun is at all responsible for the boiling conditions of the river water. The answer to how a river can run through the forest bubbling with heat was found by geophysicist Andres Russo. Russo initially was fascinated with the boiling river because of the myth attached to it. Russo was told the tale that the river obliterated anything that touched it, and that no scientific expert had the explanation for why this particular river fostered these harsh conditions. It's first important to understand the history of the mythical within the Amazon jungle. Peruvian elders explain that each geographic entity within the jungle has a spiritual being attached to it, who creates laws based on the characteristics of Earth's features. Of course, because the boiling river has such a strong presence in the jungle, it's home to great spiritual powers. Russo was enchanted with this myth, but wanted to discover the true scientific reasons for these temperatures. He was astounded to discover the river actually cools down significantly at night and only heats up by midday. He warns explorers to be careful when exploring the river because the rocks around it make for difficult terrain, and it's easy to fall in. Falling in would cause extreme injury and even death within a matter of minutes or even seconds. It's common for jungle animals, especially smaller ones, to accidentally fall in and be boiled alive. Russo explains several different scientific theories that might explain why this particular river is so dangerously hot. First, he thinks the high temperatures might be a part of a volcanic system that emits both magma and water. There's a volcano only a few kilometers from this part of the jungle that's still continuously erupting. However, there's also a possibility that pressure from the Earth's core might be responsible for emitting water to the surface at a very fast rate, causing the heat to increase. Russo is most afraid of the dire possibility that there was an oil spill nearby. This would cause for a high increase in water temperature for this specific river. There are also several issues with the law in Peru concerning the Amazon jungle. Many different communities, both traditional and modern, have different concerns for the welfare of the jungle. Traditional communities tend to want the jungle to be preserved for its ecology and wildlife, while some modern revolutionists like big oil companies are looking to exploit it for financial gain. Although there are oil companies who comply with the rules of jungle conservation, something needs to be done to ensure the overall chemistry of the Amazon stays intact to preserve and perpetuate the delicate ecosystem. These three forests all have a story to tell. Whether it's a mystery or connected to scientific background, all have their own unique, fascinating tale. So what do you make of these forest mysteries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community whilst working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.